Okay, so good morning to you all. Again, it's a pleasure to be with you. You are inspiration to all of us. And the good thing is that at the end of yesterday's day, when you were there, you saw the IDF Europe President-elect, Peter Schwartz, coming in. He stayed with us. He light a candle. He give a cup of words to you. And this is, you have to understand that it's huge. The commitment that he gave us yesterday was highly significant. This is a proof that the YLD program will continue in the future and will be strengthened. And he asked me to convey this message to all of you and to even to tell you that he was quite emotional back then, yesterday, like some of you as well. It's okay to laugh, it's okay to cry, it's okay to do everything you want to do. And he was quite emotional. And at the end of that session, I had a chat with him, with Kyle, and he clearly said, I was inspired by all of you. So again, please bear in mind that it is a very, very powerful message. And he asked me to convey this to you. It is a formal commitment from IDF that the program will continue. We had some problems in getting the program get together this year, but hopefully next time round will be easier to do so. And it's also because of you. It's because of what you did last night after the entrance of the Congress. Thank you for that. So my role is to short introduce Eduardo. Eduardo is a psychologist. I did with Eduardo the first summer camp of EPDP in Portugal. It was a couple of years back. Yeah, and he's a good friend of mine, and you're going to speak about mental health. Eduardo.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everybody. Yeah. He's a big one. He's a big guy. I slept with him. I slept already with him. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Woo! Woo! Really. He's a tough guy, but well, it was okay. Well, I'm sorry I have to have this thing to talk with you because it's making a register, so I have to put it in front of me. I don't like it. So I did not prepare something very, very heavy for you. I just thought about 2 or 3 topics and talk a little bit about them, and then we will try to move and talk about our experiences and to share a little bit of our experience about mental health. I have a partner. My partner is Naser. He's not fantastic. You imagine why. He tried to put me in the Lisbon night, but I said, well, wait, guy. So I have to sleep, but he doesn't have to sleep. He's too young. All right, so the first thing about mental health. When we talk about mental health, we are always imagining that we are talking about mental illness. And we associate immediately with mental illness. So mental health has nothing to do with mental illness. One thing is mental illness, and we have a lot of nodologic items that we can fit the people that are mentally ill, and then we have to find who is psychotic, who is neurotic, who has a schizophrenia, who has a psychosis, a maniac depressive disorder, whatever. And that's another thing. But the problem is that in our society, when we think about mental health, we immediately associate with mental disease. Well, I work with diabetes for, 30 years, okay? More or less 30 years. And the mentally ill people that I found are a real minority, and with the same epidemiological degree of all the population. So I cannot talk really about mental illness in diabetes because I would be talking about mental illness in all the population, diabetic and non-diabetic, okay? So the first thing is that we can be, when we talk about mental health, we must be preventive, and we must be very assured that we understand that all situations in life that contradict the natural history of life will have a psychological translation, a mental translation, and that's absolutely normal. The contrary would be very strange. If I have a diagnosis at this moment, I will naturally have a reaction and a psychological reaction, a behavioral and emotional reaction. And psychology is exactly that. It's it's banal. It's something completely, it's an everyday science. We have behaviors, we think, we have behaviors, and we have emotions linked to this behavior. And that's it. And that's not important. And it's extremely important because it's life itself. Okay? So, you know, when I began to work with diabetes, I was a very young person, and I was very concerned about this thing of chronicity. And when I saw the kids that were with me working, I felt impotent, and I felt incapable. And that sensation on a professional, it's the worst thing that can happen. And so, in fact, I was not a very good psychologist then. I was not. The thing is that I began to understand chronicity. And chronicity, it's something, it is the first thing, it is really the first thing that jeopardizes our mental health. And I felt it also because I had a problem in my head and in my inside my head, and I had to take a pill every day, and that was when I really understood chronicity, and I was really linked with my diabetic patients. Okay, and that was really the moment. But I began to get used to that chronicity and to understand that even my relationship with my patients was also chronic. Okay, so we people that work with diabetes, we are also called, as you know, by the IDF. I don't know if it still call us like that. We are diabetic type 3 because we live with diabetes also, because we worked with diabetes. And you know, people that work with chronic disease are very immersed in the work. When we are together with our people with diabetes and with our colleagues, we are extremely close. We spend time in the camps. We spend times in the congresses, and the congresses are immersive congresses that we lunch, we have breakfast, we dine, we dance, we think, we work with all of us. So we are very like this, exactly like you. So it could be one of you talking here and we as technicians sit there. It would be exactly the same thing. Okay? So it's something that it's also chronic, this liaison between people. And I find and I still find patients of mine in the street, and the guys still kiss me. So guys with 30 years still kiss me in the street, okay? And so that's something that really is enormous and is fantastic, and it is very, very gratifying for us that work with diabetes. So the first thing is chronic disease, and that's something that really hurts, and okay, and you can say, well, to be hurt is normal in life. It is, but it is also good to cure the wound. So we must have a moment to give us time to make the grief and to mourn the health that we lost. And that's the second moment of achieving mental health, is to overpass this grieving moment, all the phases of the grieving moment that we don't need to think a lot. We can talk a little bit more with you afterwards. But what we really must think is that we have a passage, we have a moment to live the life that we had without diabetes, without the responsibilities, without the excess, the enormous excess of responsibilities that diabetes imposed, and that naturally is a moment, a difficult moment to overpass and to gain again mental health. The third thing, after this moment, this passage, or after or in the middle of the passage, because sometimes we go back and go to back phases. You know that that the phases of mourning is the implosive reaction, then we have the rage, then we have the negotiation, then we have the depressive moment. Remember that the depressive moment, it's not a depression, okay? It's an infraclinic depression. It's a sadness. And it's a sadness that it's acceptable and useful to feel, okay? And we go forward and we go back, okay? And then in the middle of this, we have life itself. And life has, in a situation that has some responsibility, some excessive responsibilities, because the fact is that diabetes is excessive, is too much, it's too heavy, and that heaviness that we must manage, and we must manage in a daily basis, and that heaviness will be in the same moments of other things that happen in life, and those other things will create a heavier way to solve those things, and that's the difficulty to attain mental health in diabetes. It's only an effort plus. And that's it. It's nothing more. Okay? Naturally, there is something that I must tell you about mental illness, is that all the diabetics have a weapon in their hand, and a weapon that can hurt themselves, and if there is some kind of mental illness, they can use those instruments that have in their power to harm themselves. And I had naturally cases like this that are not really mental disturbances are borderline mental disturbances. It's that possibility that, you know, for example, when we have an uncle or a grandfather that committed suicide, suicide becomes a possible solution for problems. Because of the fact that an uncle that we never knew committed suicide. You understand what I mean? If we have an instrument that can harm us, it is possible for us to remember to use it if we have something not quite fantastic in our lives, okay? And, well, that I could talk for, I don't know, hours. Because I love this, I love my professional life. In fact, you know, I think I have the most fantastic profession because I have the privilege for people to be in touch with me and to share their intimacy with me, and it's a privilege. It's something that every day of my life, it's fantastic. And you know, I was coming here, and I remember once I was very young. Some of my bosses told me to get a guy at the airport for a congress, a professor, a guy that we saw only in the books, you know, like this. And then he was a German guy, and I said, "Hi, Professor, how are you?" And I was very afraid of the congress that was on the next day, and I said, "Oh, are you? Well, you are not nervous, naturally." And he said, "Haha, you're wrong. I am more nervous than when I was your age because I have more responsibilities. They are always expecting me to talk very well, so I'm very nervous." And you'll see. And that was what I was thinking when I came back here, and I was getting to talk to you, and I was nervous, and I was anxious to talk with you, and it's nice to be anxious. It's wonderful to be anxious because I'm alive, okay? So I think that is the essence of mental health, is to accept all our reactions, all our depressive moments, all our anxieties, because they really say that we are alive. And it would be not acceptable to pass through life without having this reactive action to whatever happens, okay? So, I don't know if Naser wants to you are okay, you don't have to talk nothing.
That's okay, I'm okay.
Yeah, you see. He has, I'm going to show you. These are the notes of Naser. That's what he was going to talk. He doesn't want to talk.
I was planning some activities. I thought we were going to be in a bigger space, but that's not happening. Are you done? Do you want to make a okay. Okay, thanks. So hello everyone. Hello Eduardo. Good to see you in person. So the reason why I think I'm speaking to you today is I have a background in psychology. I'm a psychology teacher, and my research is kind of focused on predictors and emotional predictors of self-management behaviors in diabetes. So basically, my research is focused on how people like you cope with diabetes distress. So when I kind of came here and
just saying that you are not one of us.
see, sometimes honestly, no, I didn't mean it that way. But yeah, honestly, I'm interested to see the uniqueness of the coping mechanisms that each and every one of you employ, and specifically cultural coping. Like my research is mainly focused on spirituality and religiosity when it comes to coping mechanisms in diabetes and self-management behaviors. So let's do a very quick, small activity, and that's something that I do in my classes as well. So it has 3 stages. The first stage is 30 seconds, where we're gonna reflect, okay? So I'm gonna give you a question, and then we're gonna reflect for 30 seconds. Yeah? Second is we're gonna peer. Okay, so you're gonna find a neighbor, and then you're gonna share with them what you reflected, right? And then we're gonna share them with the rest of the class. Yeah? For 2 minutes. Yeah? Capiche? Sounds good? Okay, fantastic. So, why do you guys think that diabetics are more prone to things like depression and anxiety? So we're gonna take 30 seconds, so until minute 3 to reflect, yeah? Silence, 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 silence. Okay. So why are diabetics more prone to things like depression and anxiety?
Coping mechanisms can be good or bad.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so we're gonna take 1 minute to peer now, okay? So we're gonna take 1 minute to share our responses with a neighbor. We're gonna find someone and we're gonna share our responses with them for 1 minute. Okay? Why are diabetics more prone to things like depression and anxiety? Yalla, after the minute. In a bit, in a bit, in a bit. Morning. Hey, sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Why are diabetics more likely to develop things like depression and anxiety? Okay, you guys, we have 10 seconds to go. 10 seconds to go. Okay, fantastic. Time. Okay, can someone volunteer to share something? Yes, why do you think diabetics are more prone to things like anxiety and depression?
I'd just say, I would just stand up.
Yes, go ahead.
Simply, I would say that because we all know that diabetes.
Guys, listen up. Listen, listen, listen. It's okay.
Because we all know that diabetes can be an extra burden in our life every day. We need to take make extra decisions. We need to be responsible for our lives, for those decisions that we take. And especially that this responsibility comes for most of us at a young age. So you're an adolescent, you're a child, but you need to take that decision
It's amazing.
to help yourself, to manage your diabetes. Because if you took that decision wrong, something wrong would happen to you. And the more problem, or the bigger problem out of this, all of this, diabetes sometimes can be unexpected. Even
Okay.
if you plan everything ahead, even if you
It's
take your
fantastic.
decisions so well, plans could go wrong just because it's
Okay, so if I'm summarizing your point in 2 points, what would it be?
me summarizing.
Unexpected and burdening. Yes? Okay, someone else? Go ahead.
Oh, wait up.
No? No mic?
No more.
Okay.
I think that the fact that I need to be in control for 24 hours a day
Okay.
makes me more stressful, and the fact that I know that if I won't take care of myself, so in the
It's
future,
amazing. Yeah.
thing can happen to my body and my quality of life will get very
Fantastic. So fear of complication. Next.
It's
So-
also thank you very much. It's also a thing of responsibility, both of you, and it's important to link all your ideas, okay? And the thing is that adulthood that you talk about it's extremely important what you said because it involves a necessity of being an adult, being responsible, thinking about the consequences all the time. And that's, for a child or an adolescent, is to be pervasive at an adult. It's a perversion. It's not acceptable for a child or an adolescent to have this responsibility and this need to control things. We must be control freaks. In fact, when we don't want to be freaks like that, we want to have another kind of freakness. So so that both very important. Okay, thank you.
So I would just add that as women living with type 1 diabetes, there's this constant fear of rejection. Like coming from India, like we have been told to hide a condition. And that is something that really stops us from accepting it wholeheartedly, and it really impacts our self-esteem, our self-confidence, and how we live with this condition. Because we are told, like as women, that we have to hide it, but because otherwise you will not find a probable good partner, or you will not be able to bear a child, and what will people think of you? And there are a lot of women, who are bounded by that and who have to hide their condition, and they ultimately fall into depression because obviously, like, they cannot come out with their condition, and everything just it's swirling inside and all of these emotions, and there's no way to let it out because they are like scared.
That's amazing. Go ahead, Eduardo.
No,
Yeah.
you want to
So so something I usually say in my workshops about diabetes is diabetes is a very lonely disease or a condition, and the reason I say that is one, we construct schemas, we construct thought processes when we're young about how we should control things, right? And when we control things, we are not able to easily trust relinquishing power or relinquishing control. So what we do as children, from a very young age, is construct a narrative about our lives that we need to take care of ourselves, and we can't relinquish that power. And what the research and my experience seems to say about this is that it affects our social life, it affects our romantic life, it affects our emotional capacities, and it affects our capacities to advocate, right? One of the things that I kind of felt very stressed about is how much I needed to do. And that was always a thing that, I carried with me since I was a kid. I always wanted to do a lot. My mom was in the diabetes clinic. She was a nurse. I was always expected to do a lot. I used to give workshops. Since I was a kid who was 5, I used to talk to parents whose kids were newly diagnosed. And we talk about things like how your kid is going to grow up to be normal and high achieving and athletic, and they can achieve whatever they put their mind to, and blah, 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 blah. And all of that kind of gives us a responsibility added to the responsibility that our schema already constructed since we were kids to do this and this and this and this and that. So something that I don't remember who mentioned yesterday was diabetes advocates burnout. Yeah? And we have the capacity to burn out. And you know why people burn out? Why do you guys think people burn out? Any guesses? Just throw around words. Why do people burn out in a job, in a relationship, in a marriage, whatever it is? You push yourself too much. You want to achieve and dream big and focus on this and this and that. What else? We don't take breaks. Fantastic. We don't take time to refill our cups. And
you do too much for others and not for yourself.
you do too much for others, and especially that diabetes is quite lonely, you guys. That's something that I keep repeating, maybe to myself and to others as well. It's quite lonely. Where do you have to go to recharge? Go ahead.
Can I say something about Adam? For the recording. Okay. The burnout thing. The burnout. It's a conception that is linked to the work, especially by the OMS. It's linked with work, but we can absolutely be extended it for other fields. The thing is that stress is something that is it became a concept of physics. Okay, so the body has a stress because of the resistance of the material. The material can resist of something that happened, and we have an action that answers that impact. Okay, and the most the most expressive example of stress is, for example, to have an accident, a car accident, and the body has to contain the stress. So when we have an accident, an automobile accident, we go to the hospital and we have time to solve the stress. Okay, the doctors do not let us get out without being prepared for life. The problem is that in life, we don't give ourselves time to solve the stress. So we have a stress, and then we have another, and the reaction of the first stress is still there. So we are gathering, we are summing, okay, stresses and actions and reactions, and then we get burnout. We get fucked. No, Uh, Absolutely. I don't recall another name. It's really fact. Well, and that's a real problem. What's your name?
Jyotsna.
Joksna. Okay. The thing is, with her, with Joksna, it's something that is extremely human. It's shame. And to be ashamed, it's something of the human condition. And it's not okay, especially for diabetic people with those problems. And it's overall, it's in all civilizations, in all cultures, okay, in the West and the in the East, it's everywhere, okay. And for example, I'm a psychologist for Google, and they have patients in Morocco and in Dublin and in Krakow, in Poland. And all of them, okay, they have morale, different morale, okay, different cultural morale, but they are exactly the same as human beings. And that shameness, it's something that we must solve at each moment. And when I come in for of a room, I can enter with shameness, and I look at you like you were going to hit me or something, and I can enter and I say good morning, and I'm so unfitable for this moment that I reduce myself. And if I have something that worries me specifically, for example, with diabetes, with, I don't know, am I okay? Am I well dressed? And am I fit? I, for example, I'm gay, okay? And if I'm gay, I think, well, I'm gay. Are they looking to me as a gay person? And you don't give a shit about if I'm gay or not. And you don't give a shit about if I am a diabetic or not. And you don't give a shit if I'm with the trousers that has something, or it's not your worry. You want to hear me. So if I feel okay, even if I'm diabetic, even if I'm gay, even if I'm heterosexual, even if I don't know what, if my trousers are okay or not, I expect they are. Yeah. I thought about it, how I'm going to dress today. Really, I thought. Yeah? Thank you. That's nice. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, tell me.
When you mentioned about the trousers, it got me thinking. Can we say that maybe you don't share this point? It's just a thought. Can we share that sometimes that aspect of belongingness is a factor in how we feel and how it impacts the burnout? Do you feel that? Because I think
The way we
whether we
we
feel it
dress, the way we, it's something that,
and how we work, how much we work, because we do feel that we belong, but maybe we feel that not everybody feels that we belong, and we try to fit in all the spaces because we think that diabetes at some time, at some point, is going to be a reason to not be fit for jobs, for roles, for anything else. Do we resonate with this?
And
yeah.
it is,
Okay.
and it is a reason not to be fit. Like we suffer discrimination.
Yeah.
Like it's something that unfortunately the only way that we can combat and change that reality is like not us as individuals, not us alone, but we have to push for education, for information, so other people don't discriminate us. And again, of course, when you add vulnerabilities, so we are talking about people with diabetes, then you have gender, then you have like sexual orientation, then you have like other things. It's just like hands on. So this is something that I, honestly I don't see a solution other than we changing
Mentalities.
the outside world. That's not. I'm not saying that we need to push ourselves and don't respect our limits. I think that it's really important. But the only change that we can fully feel that we fit in is changing the others, not us.
Absolutely. I would like to say something about what you said. Just
Sorry
wait a
for
No.
just for the record, we just have 11 minutes.
Oh God! Oh God! Oh God!
He's a timekeeper.
Okay, the timekeeper. I will implode. I'm sure at the moment. I explode.
I just wanted to follow up on what Bruno said. I think a very important thing that we also need to understand is that advocacy is a very, very long road that needs a lot of patience. We shouldn't expect to get the outcome that we want. We can't change the world by tonight. It takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of people and a lot of change and effort.
Exactly. Exactly. I will let the other guy. Sorry.
It's a really good idea to surround yourself with people who are supportive because usually when you're stressing about something, you always talk to yourself and remind yourself of the things that didn't work or of the things that didn't go well. However, if you have friends and family that support you and remind you of all the good things, and you should do that as well. You should remind yourself of the things that you did well. It will impact you positively.
That's a good coping strategy. A very good coping strategy. Sorry. Can you?
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that another thing that I respect myself and I look at myself as a normal person when I'm surrounded with other people who doesn't have diabetes. So I think that how we look on ourselves reflects
Exactly.
how other people will look on
Exactly.
me.
Exactly. Yeah. She's a.
Okay, go ahead. I just want to say one sentence.
Yeah. Say it. Say it.
I'll go last. I'll go last. Okay.
So what I think it's important, following up what Bruno was saying, the importance of raising awareness and educating people, especially people that live around us, is our circle. In the way that we educate these people and we speak with them about diabetes, they will be more supportive.
Absolutely.
They will engage in our fight. Like it's not a fight, but in our
A fight.
Yeah.
A fight.
In our fight. To
Fight. Don't be afraid of words. It's a fight.
Regarding the first question, there is like a very first feeling of people living with diabetes, specifically in my case, was guilty. Why? Why me? Why did I get diabetes?
Exactly. That's a phase of
I was
the
a kid,
morning.
and I saw other kids having candies, eating a lot of chocolates. Why I cannot do that? Dad, mom, I want a candy. My parents are doctors. Say, no. So that was the first impression of my life living with diabetes. It's not like depression, but it's why me?
No, it's not a question of depression.
And then I went to clubs when I was a teenager, and all people was like dancing, and I was with my my insulin, my glucometer, and people like saw me like stranger. Say, why do I do some things to fit in a group? Like I must don't bring up my glucometer or my insulin to do that. No, I just started to speak with them, to engage them with the process, and at the end they were, are you okay? Do you have your insulin? Are you taking your strips? When you get the people part of it, it is more way easy.
Absolutely.
So,
That's it.
which is important, raising awareness and education in this
Okay.
field.
If I may, relating to what Roberto said, what I was curious if other feels the same. I feel like us as people with diabetes, as we know, we are lacking something, like something was sort of taken from us. So I feel like we are trying to prove something to others, to ourselves, constantly. I don't know if you have the same feeling, and that it brings me anxiety a lot.
Yeah, it's true.
If others feel the same.
I just want to say that, yeah, sometimes when it comes to advocacy, when it comes to us young leaders, full of energy, full of power, that we want to change the world, we want to exceed expectations. And sometimes without doing, if we wouldn't be able to do that, we just feel the burnout. We just feel so down, so sad that we couldn't do that. But there's one saying that Bruno himself
himself said a couple of months ago in an online Zoom meeting. Since I heard that sentence, I couldn't forget it. I need to understand it that you need to know your limitations and acknowledge them. Because we have limitations when it comes to us working in the advocacy field, to ourselves, in our associations, in our countries, wherever we want to work, we have limitations. Once we acknowledge that, once we know our limitations, we respect what we can do, what we can do, we feel much better when it comes to, being overexcited about doing something.
I would like to say that we have to be very acknowledge very well that we are not alone. We are never alone. We have a network to create. We have that network. It's a possible network. It's an emotional network, and it's an effective. It's not only effective, it's effective network that we must really consider to build. And the thing is that if the way we look at ourselves, the way that and I would recommend to read, I don't know if you know her, it's Rupi Kaur. Rupi Kaur, she's a poet, of 30 years poet, and I recommend her vividly. And she's fantastic. And the fact is that after the network, after all the movements that we make in our life to be considerative and to be revolutionary, because revolution, we can do it in our own limits, with our own limitations, with the fact that we have lines that we cannot exceed because we are what we are, and that's it. And I must understand exactly who is Eduardo, who are his limits, where I cannot overpass. I can try to push them naturally. Every day I try to push them. Every day I try to understand exactly what is my movement and where I can contact others and touch them. And touch them is not to be invasive, just a touch. And that touch, that possibly is revolutionary, because I speak and I am heard. And at the end of the day, when I get to the mirror, I can look at myself and be ecstatic and in love with that person that's on the other side, that the mirror reflects, that extraordinary person that I usually am not conscious of, that beautiful human being that's on the other side. So we are beautiful human beings. We have to construct that beautifulness. We must really strike to that. And it's a fight, It's a fight. Because, for example, happiness, sadness is a very natural thing. I can be sad like this. But happiness, okay. Happiness, I'm ending. Happiness, it's a strike that I must do every day, a fight that I must do every day. And it's a very, very serious business. So to be happy will oblige you to think with your feet, think always with your feet. Because the feet are what that permits us to go there. And then when you get there with your feet, think with your senses. Sense, taste, look, hear. And then you think with your head. And at the last time you think with your head, and then you choose to get out of there or to stay. So please, think with your feet, okay? That's the only thing. I'm going out. Okay, bye-bye. It was fantastic to be with you. Okay, take care.